There was an old lady who swallowed a clover. There was an old lady who swallowed a clover. I don't know why she swallowed the clover, but she didn't roll over. There was an old lady who swallowed a daisy. She wasn't lazy when she swallowed the daisy. She swallowed the daisy to brighten the clover. I don't know why she swallowed the clover, but she didn't roll over. There was an old lady who swallowed a butterfly. She did not sigh when she swallowed the butterfly. She swallowed the butterfly to rest on the daisy. She swallowed the daisy to brighten the clover. I don't know why she swallowed the clover, but she didn't roll over. There was an old lady who swallowed a bird. It wasn't absurd when she swallowed that bird. She swallowed the bird to glide with the butterfly. She swallowed the butterfly to rest on the daisy. She swallowed the daisy to brighten the clover. I don't know why she swallowed the clover, but she didn't roll over. There was an old lady who swallowed a pot. Believe it or not, she swallowed that pot. She swallowed the pot to carry the bird. She swallowed the bird to glide with the butterfly. She swallowed the butterfly to rest on the daisy. She swallowed the daisy to brighten the clover. I don't know why she swallowed the clover, but she didn't roll over. There was an old lady who swallowed some gold. It wasn't cold, all that shiny gold. She swallowed the gold to fill up the pot. She swallowed the pot to carry the bird. She swallowed the bird to glide with the butterfly. She swallowed the butterfly to rest on the daisy. She swallowed the daisy to brighten the clover. I don't know why she swallowed the clover, but she didn't roll over. There was an old lady who swallowed a fiddle. It is a riddle why she swallowed a fiddle. The old lady started to dance, and before she was done, a wee little leprechaun joined in the fun. As they twirled high and low, she giggled so much, out popped a rainbow. Happy St. Patrick's Day! Mary McLean and the St. Patrick's Day Parade. Mary McLean's father was a potato farmer in Ireland. When the crop began to fail year after year, when the potatoes came up out of the ground healthy and almost at once turned black and rotten, the McLeans had to give up their little thatched hut in Donegal. In the fall of 1849, Mary, her parents, her older brother Danny, and her baby sister Megan packed what they could and sailed to America. The ship was big and wide, but traveling steerage, they were tightly packed together below decks. Each day, their only food was a bowl of pork and beans and a cup of water. The journey took 8 weeks, and there were terrible storms. Everyone wondered if they would make it. Finally, the ship arrived safely at the battery on the southern tip of Manhattan Island. Mary's father found a room. It was in a dark basement on James Street in Lower Manhattan. The family crowded in. It was very damp and cold, and the smell of cooking lingered all day long. Even worse, everyone had to sleep in the same bed. Soon after, Mary's father found a job as a laborer on the docks. Her mother got work as a maid in the mansion on Fifth Avenue. Mary and Danny started school, and baby Megan spent the day with her neighbor, Nellie O'Reilly, and her 3 children. Almost everyone in the crowded basements, dugout cellars, and tenants of James Street was Irish, and walking around after school, Mary began hearing stories. Mostly, they were about the St. Patrick's Day Parade on March 17th, and how grand it was, and how every year Mr. Finnegan, who owned the corner grocery store, did something marvelous. Mary really liked Mr. Finnegan. She asked Nellie O'Reilly about what he did on St. Patrick's Day. "Oh, yes," said Nellie, rocking baby Megan in her lap, "and it's a wonderful sight to see, girl. Mr. Finnegan has a special cart all trimmed in green and gold, and a long green cloak, and he rides with his dog Fergus, driving 2 white horses and looking like a real Irish hero. He's the most special event in the parade, and everyone here loves him for it. and wouldn't miss it for the world. Mary imagined Mr. Finnegan in his cart. The next moment she knew that she wanted most was to ride with him in the St. Patrick's Day parade. The following day she went to see him in the store. He was standing behind the counter. He didn't look like an Irish hero now. He just looked like an old Mr. Finnegan. Beside him, as usual, lay Fergus, the same sleepy Irish wolfhound she had seen before. Mary marched bravely to the counter. "Mr. Finnegan," she said, "next year I want to ride with you and Fergus in the St. Patrick's Day parade." Mr. Finnegan smiled. "Well now, my girl, that's a pretty steep request. No one has ever ridden with me before. You'd have to do something pretty important for me to even consider it. But let me see. If you found a perfect shamrock, I might change my mind." Mary looked out at the icy street. Where in all the wintry, snow-covered Manhattan could she find a perfect shamrock? She ran home. That night after dinner, she told her parents what Mr. Finnegan had said. Her father settled down in their one chair. He said. "Can't say I know how you'd find such a thing, except by magic, of course." Then he began the story of the old country, of a merchant and a mischievous leprechaun, and how the merchant had captured the leprechaun and was about to make off with his crock of gold when he made the mistake of turning away. "You know," said Mary's father, "you can't ever take your eyes off a leprechaun. If you do, he will escape." And that's exactly what happened to the merchant. Mary's father was a very good storyteller, but Mary was very tired. "I'd never have let that leprechaun escape," she said, as he finished. Then she fell asleep between her mother and her brother in the big bed. The next morning, Danny scoffed at the idea of Mary ever finding a shamrock in the snow. 2 years older, he had refused to continue school and was selling newspapers with a bunch of other newsboys on Broadway. He stormed out the door, making a mean face. "You wait," Mary shouted after him. "I'll find one." In the afternoon, she went down to the ferry slip on Catherine Street. She loved watching the ferries streaming to and fro on the East River. Watching them helped her to think. Shamrocks always turned up in the fields of grass. Even though it was covered in snow, there was lots of grass in the City Hall Park. Surely she could find a shamrock there. She went up Madison Street and across William and found herself in the park. There was almost no one on the paths. Mary walked all around looking at the snow. Every so often, she knelt down and dug through the dry grass beneath. She looked and looked until the sun began going down and her back hurt. No shamrocks. Exhausted, ready to give up, she collapsed on a bench. Just then, she heard a tap, tap, tapping nearby. She followed the noise. Crouching under a hedge near City Hall was a tiny old man in a cocked hat and a leather apron. He was tapping the heel back on his shoe with a little silver hammer. Mary walked right over. "I thought leprechauns stayed in Ireland," she said. The leprechaun grinned. "There are so many Irish in America now. I had to see the place. I'm going all the way to California as soon as I fix the shoe. I don't want to miss the gold rush." Mary took a deep breath. There, in his lapel, was a perfect shamrock. She leaned forward. "Could you please give me that shamrock?" "I can't," said the leprechaun. "I need it for luck in California." "Why do you ask?" Mary explained about the parade and Mr. Finnegan. The leprechaun laughed. "I'll be on my way home in March. Maybe I'll catch that parade. Who knows? I might have the shamrock for you then." With that, he finished repairing his shoe, put it on, and disappeared. Mary walked home puzzled. A leprechaun in America, and he might give her a shamrock? She told no one about what had happened, but for weeks afterward she kept looking for her own. It didn't seem very wise to be depending on a leprechaun. One day she even got Tom, the milkman, to take her north off 42nd Street in his wagon. There the buildings thinned out and turned into fields. She spent the whole afternoon tramping through the snow, but she didn't find a thing. Around Christmas, to earn a little pocket money, Mary began walking Fergus. Late one afternoon, as she was leaving the store, Mr. Finnegan said, "Tough luck about the shamrock." Mary stood very still. She nodded. "Who knows?" said Mr. Finnegan. "Something may turn up." Mary wasn't so sure. And then it was Christmas with a meal of turkey scraps and a small doll made by her mother. The weather got so cold they all had to huddle in bed in their clothes. But suddenly, unbelievably, it was the afternoon before St. Patrick's Day. Mary walked Fergus to City Hall Park. She'd never find a shamrock now. That leprechaun would never turn up. She wanted so much to be in the parade, and now she would never be. She kicked a stone along the path, and suddenly there was the leprechaun, crouching in the same spot as before. He looked a little dusty from all his travels. He grinned. "I see you didn't forget me. Did you have a nice trip?" Mary asked. But then she looked at his lapel. The shamrock was gone. Mary knew he must have it hidden. She also remembered her father's storytelling. She grabbed the leprechaun in both hands, looked right at him, and said, "Give me the shamrock or bring me to your crock of gold." The leprechaun's eyes grew bright. His cheeks puffed up in surprise. "You've dropped your dog's leash," he sputtered. "What?" said Mary, glancing at the ground. At that moment, the leprechaun wriggled free, flipped into the air past Fergus's snapping jaws, and was gone. "Oh, no!" cried Mary. "How could I have done that?" Dejected, with Fergus by her side, she walked back to James Street. She said nothing to Mr. Finnegan when she hung up the leash behind the door. She didn't even wish him a happy St. Patrick's Day as she started for home. But that night, when her father came in for supper, he was smiling. Before he would even sit down, he took something out of his pocket and covered it with his other hand. "I was walking past City Hall," he said, "and would you believe what I found behind a hedge?" He took his other hand away. In his palm was the most perfect shamrock Mary had ever seen. Where had it come from? Was it the leprechaun? "Oh, Daddy," Mary said, "it's for you, daughter. You'll be able to ride with Mr. Finnegan now." The next day, Mary's parents took Danny and maybe Megan to the St. Patrick's Day parade on Fifth Avenue. Behind the police barricade, they listened to the bands and the sound of marching feet. There were rows and rows of policemen, and group after group carrying Irish and American flags. And then there was Mr. Finnegan. He was sitting in his car, driving the two white horses. The cart was covered in the green drapery fringed with gold, and Mr. Finnegan himself was dressed in a wreath of oak leaves and his long green cloak, trimmed with gold and green. Behind him, sitting on a mat, was Fergus, and beside Fergus stood Mary McLean, smiling the biggest smile anyone had ever seen. That's what leprechauns do. The three leprechauns sat under the chestnut tree. Airy looked up at the cloud-filled sky. "It's coming," he said, "and there's work to be done." Boo and Kroll put on their red shoes and their caps and strapped their packs to their backs. "We're ready," Boo said, "but why is it always us that has to put the pot of gold at the end of the rainbow? Especially since not a single soul ever finds it," Kroll added. Our Airy looked from one of them to the other. "Don't be asking," he said. "It's leprechaun duty, so it is. And fellows, remember, it's coming, so there'll be no time for mischief along the way." They walked in line, the one in front of the other one behind. No mischief along the way," they chanted. But when they got to Ballybunion Farm, they saw Mrs. Ballybunion's cow, Pansy, standing in the field. Airy whipped out the little bottle of red paint and he kept in his backpack for leprechaun business. He ran across to Patsy. "Stand still, my lovely," he told her, and he painted her hooves scarlet red. Pansy looked down. "Pretty," she said. "Imagine Mrs. Ballybunion's face when she comes to milk you." Airy shouted. He and Boo and Kroll rolled over in the tall grass laughing. "She'll think I've been to a dance." Pansy did a couple of small hop and steps to demonstrate. The leprechauns clapped and whistled. "We'd be delighted to join you in a waltz or two," Airy exclaimed, "but we're in a desperate hurry." "I thought there was to be no mischief along the way," Boo reminded him. Sure, but I couldn't help myself. Mischief's what leprechauns do," Airy said, "along with our more important duties." He glanced up at the tatters of clouds in the sky, and we'd better not delay, for we've delayed enough already. But as they were passing old Jamie Bradley's house, they saw Jamie's gray woolen long johns spread out to dry on his hawthorn hedge. The leprechauns looked at each other and grinned. Quick as a cat pounce, they ran across to the hedge and stood one on top of the other, and the other on top of him. Airy reached up and tied the two long john legs together in a tight knot. They almost fell off of each other. They laughed so hard. It would be so great all together to stay and watch old Jamie trying to put his legs into those. Boo said, but it'll be a month of Sundays before they're dry, and we've no time to waste. They took a few minutes to somersault across Liam McGabe's garden. There was a yellow tennis ball in the middle of the road, and they rolled it along with them as they went. Miss Maud Murphy's hen, Bertie, clucked at them from behind her gate. Bertie, Airy said, would you be doing us a favor? Could we trundle this ball up to your nest? And could you sit on it for us? It'll be great joke on Miss Maud Murphy when she comes out to gather your eggs. Bertie put her head to one side. It's not going to be easy sitting on that, but the three of you were so good to me, scaring that fox away from my hen house last night. I'll do it. Kroll stretched up and patted her wing. Thank you, Bertie. They squeezed themselves through the gate and tumbled the ball with them. Then they heaved it up into Bertie's nest. She gave a trial sit on it. I'll be sore underneath myself for a week, she grumbled. But the thought of Miss Maud Murphy's face when she sees that I've laid a yellow ball will be worth it. Won't that beat all? Kroll gasped. The three of you can't help making mischief, can you? Bertie asked. That's what leprechauns do, Airy told her. Along with our more important duties. He stopped. Is that a splitting of wet I feel? A spitting of wet? 'Tis. Boo stared up at the sky, where the sun was flickering through the heavy clouds. A thin, cool rain had started to fall. Hurry, hurry, Airy ordered. It's come. We can't be late. They pulled their green slickers from their backpacks and settled their caps low to their ears. Anybody seeing them racing along the road would have taken them for the three green leaves, but they were leprechauns, and they had work to do. Get them out, boyos, get them ready, Airy said. They took their little spades from their backpacks, and then they stopped for a minute to look up at the rainbow, blue and green and yellow and pink, that was arched across half the sky. There it is, Airy said with satisfaction. Come on. They dashed across Padley Whacker's bog, found the place there where they kept their pot of gold, buried for such a rainbow occasion, and dug it up. Airy stood in the middle of the bog. Here, he said. The three of them placed the pot of glittering gold in just the right spot and watched the rainbow curve itself all the way down till it ended on the top of the pot. The leprechauns settled themselves to wait. They tootled some grass stalk music, threw raindrops at each other, and ate the rose hips they'd brought for snacks. They waited long, but nobody came. Once again, nobody came. You'd think somebody would find it, Kroll complained. Somebody will someday, Airy said. Maybe we should put up a sign, Boo suggested. Pot of gold this way. No, Airy said. That's not how it's done. There's a bit of magic to the finding, and a bit of luck, and a bit of imagination, too. That gold's waiting for just the right person. The rain had stopped. The sun went behind a cloud. The rainbow shortened itself and then disappeared. No use waiting away any longer. Kroll took off his cap and wrung the wet out of it. If we hurry, we could be in time to see Miss Maud Murphy discover Bertie's yellow egg, he said. Boo laughed. Won't that be the great thing to see? All right then, Airy said. We'll put a rush on this. They buried the pot again in its usual place. Airy patted the smothered down bog dirt. Don't worry, Pot, he whispered. We'll be back to get you on the next rainbow day. Now we're off again to see what new mischief we can find. For besides our important duties, that's what leprechauns do. It's St. Patrick's Day. It's St. Patrick's Day. The holiday is here. It's March 17th, the same day every year. It's St. Patrick's Day. We love to dress in green. Irish eyes will smile. Will leprechauns be seen? It's St. Patrick's Day. Hurry up, get dressed. There's a lot to celebrate. You'll want to look your best. It's St. Patrick's Day, so wear a lot of green. Choose hats, coats, shirts, or anything in between. It's St. Patrick's Day. Let's find a 4-leaf clover. We'll celebrate the Irish before the day is over. It's St. Patrick's Day. Let's make some Irish stew. Add potatoes, carrots, onions. Serve it hot for me and you. It's St. Patrick's Day. We can dance an Irish reel. We'll drink sweet green juice at each and every meal. It's St. Patrick's Day. Tune the harp and tune the fiddle. We'll eat our favorite cookies with green icing in the middle. It's St. Patrick's Day. No matter where you were born, today you can be Irish and wish everyone top o'er the morn. It's St. Patrick's Day. Let's sing an Irish song. We'll wear our green carnations and celebrate all day long. It's St. Patrick's Day. Do you hear the pipes and drums? Let's join the celebration. Do you want to come? It's St. Patrick's Day. Irish music will be played. Be sure to get to Main Street to watch the big parade. Happy St. Patrick's Day!